So you're getting divorced and you're selling the marital home. How does that affect your taxes? Here's 3 things you need to know. First, when you get divorced during the middle of the year, you're going to have to file single for that year. So you're going to want to make sure that if you sell your house during that year, both parties get access to the household deduction. Second, in order to make sure that both parties get the full advantage of the household deduction, you want to make sure that there are 2 1099s issued, not just one to one party. And third, in the event that there is just one 1099 issued, you want to make sure that you get with the CPA because they can show you ways to make sure that both parties are going to take a portion of that gain and also get the full deduction for their household exemption.
Hey guys, Robert here. Welcome back to the channel. Divorce is already, I can imagine, a hard thing to deal with. The last thing you would want to do is also have to deal with one of the alphabet boys, the IR and the S, because something was done incorrectly after the sale of a marital property during a divorce. So today on this video, we're going to give you some tips if you're going through this hard time in your life. And the reason I wanted to do the video is because just over the last month, man, a lot of my past clients, unfortunately, are going through these changes. Maybe it's the sign of the times or because of the bad times. I don't know. But if you find yourself in this situation, this video will help you kind of manage those things, because I'm sure you're already, dealing with a lot depending on your specific situation. My name is Robert, and on this channel, we simplify the home loan process. This next video is going to go over what you should consider if it's taken a little while to sell the house, and depending on who might have to live in the house if you're splitting up.
You notice how in some cultures, as soon as the partners decide that they're going to split, they immediately put the house up for sale. There's no discussion about it. It's just part of the norm. But then other people find all of these reasons to drag out the process. Maybe you have an ex that won't move, right? Or somebody doesn't work and they're like, oh, I need to stay in the house. I can't refi. My credit's bad, blah, 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 right? There's always some issue keeping an ex-partner in the house. Let me warn you and tell you why you do not want to do this if you can help it. When you leave an ex-partner in the house, especially when you're going through the divorce is hard on everybody. The kids, the family, the grandparents, friends, right? Things are really about to get shaken up, right? So imagine you're leaving that person in the home that you raised your kids in the home that you were married to that person with, right? In the midst of all of your decor, all of the things, all of the memories, right? That person oftentimes can slip into a deep depression, right? You're going through the divorce. Maybe you've moved out. You've got a fresh start. You've got a clean slate. You've got a new space, right? So you're feeling, this breath of fresh air, and that person is still living in the home. They are possibly going to destroy your house.
That's a good point. Depending on, I guess, who did who wrong if you're breaking up in most cases. But if you're left in that house and you're looking at all of the stuff that, used to be normal to you, you might fall into a depression. You might stop taking care of the home because of depression or out of spite. If you're going to be divorced, I think you should move as quick as possible to separate. Don't prolong things, because the longer you prolong, the more issues that you could possibly have. Second thing that I wanted to touch on that she mentioned is, depending on who was working and who wasn't, who was the domestic engineer of the home, may not be able to afford another place. And so these are some of the things that could muddy the waters. But if you decide to go this route, I think this is where a professional would come in handy, as far as a real estate professional to come in and say, okay, this is what the house could sell for in its current state. Because I'm finding that a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't do the regular maintenance and keep up with the homes. And so something like this happens and it's like, okay, well, we got to get it fixed up to sell. So the realtor could come in and help you ascertain where you are as far as putting the house on the market. And that's good information to have up front. Number two, your lender. Can the person that's not working, right, can they stay in the house or refinance the house and afford it if they want to keep it? This is valuable information to know, and you don't drag things out, because most people run to the lawyer as a professional, and that's who really makes all the money. So you want to be decent and amicable especially if you have children and you've been together for a period of time, hopefully you can let cooler heads prevail to be able to come up with these things. But I know that's wishful thinking in a lot of cases. If you find yourself in these situations, this is why some of this information is just good for you to know. I'll tell you another thing. You'd be surprised since the pandemic, how many people that are calling me from other states wanting to move to like Texas and states that are community property. And I've just been doing this long enough to know to hear the questioning that's being posed. And I always want to remind people about the type of state that you're going to. Is it a community property state? Because if it is, and you're trying to buy a home somewhere and you haven't finished that business, well, then you're bringing those people with you in essence that you're trying to get rid of. Again, hope it doesn't happen to you and everything is cool, because divorce affects everybody in your family, as she said. And sometimes it is what it is. You got to do what you got to do. So in this last video, I want to allow this realtor to give you some different insight when you get ready to sell the home. Okay. So we got some tax information. We got some information from someone that actually went through a divorce and was dealing with some things and giving you some insight. Now let's go to the realtor and give you some insight that could protect both parties in this situation when you're trying to move a property.
If you are getting a divorce and selling the marital home or any other piece of real property, here is some information that I beg you to not put in the public record. Real estate agents and potential buyers, they learn that you're getting a divorce, and even if not, they will go search those records to get information so that they can get the best deal possible. Time and time again, I see where people did the divorce themselves and they put very sensitive information in the public record that people can read. Here's some examples of that related to real estate. People will put in the agreement what they think the fair market value is of their home. The fair market value fluctuates greatly from neighborhood to neighborhood and over time. So if you're looking at putting the house on the market in any amount of time in the future, that value could change, or a realtor could come out and say, gosh, I think you need to price this $50,000 higher. So you never want to put that in your agreement. The second thing is people will put in a schedule about reducing the price. And so they might say if the home is on the market for sale for 60 days, then at that point, we're going to reduce the price by 3%, etc. You don't want anybody to know what your best deal is, so never put that in the public record. Also, sometimes people put in things like, we're going to sell the home as is, or we're going to agree already to give people so much of a carpet allowance or discount or closing costs. It is perfectly fine to articulate and agree upon all of these things, lock in what each person expects to get for equity, what the mortgage payoff is. But you do this in what's called a real estate side agreement. So in your settlement agreement that everybody should read, it can say something like, all the details regarding the sale of the marital home are detailed in the real estate side agreement. Then you type up the real estate side agreement. Of course, have an attorney do this for you. And it details all of those things that you think that you all need to agree upon now to sell the house. Even the selection, of a realtor, who's in charge of the house, keeping it in a showable condition, etc. And that side agreement is not filed with the court. Everybody gets a copy. It's referenced in the agreement, so it's binding, but nobody can go online, read all of these details, and then swoop in and get your house for the lowest value possible.
Now, that information was worth its weight in gold. If you need to, go back and listen to that again. But again, you want to make sure that you get professionals to protect yourself in this time, because you're real emotional, I would imagine. And folks are looking for a deal, man. And the best time to get a deal is when folks are in trouble or if there's distress. And so what you don't want to do, as she says, is put certain stuff out in the public record because you're so emotional or you're upset with the other person that you shoot yourself in the foot. What I will add to that is this: credit-wise, I see this a lot. As an example, say you were married for several years and you have debts or liabilities that you've gotten together. I strongly recommend that you put in that side agreement that when this home sells, whoever is supposed to take care of the debt, that debt has to be paid off at that time. Why? Because I've seen situations where people get divorces, and in the divorce decree, it says this person is responsible for these accounts. But that's the divorce decree. When it comes to consumer law contracts and things of that nature, the divorce decree does not override your agreement. So if you've agreed to pay for something jointly, and then the other person in the divorce says, hey, I'm going to take care of it, but they don't, guess what? That's on you up the creek. So these are things that you're not thinking about because you want to have somebody be able to point these things out to you. So at least you can have the information to make the best decision in a situation like this. Divorce is very messy, but it's one of those life events that happens, unfortunately. If you find yourself in a situation like this and you'd like to reach out to see if we can help you navigate, my contact information is in the top pinned comment in the description of this video below. My time is up, but I thank you for yours. As I always say, guys, let's be good to one another. Let us let grace abound. Watch these next 2 videos. They'll help you on your journey. And for the rest of you all, indeed, y'all stay blessed.